Hello and welcome to Goa 365's Story Behind the Story. This is a different story behind the story. This is something special. This is a budget special. And the budget was placed on the table of the House yesterday. There were a lot of reactions with and there were a lot of obvious reactions, as you can see, with the ruling saying it's very good, and with the opposition saying that it's not so good and it's bad and populism. However, on our discussion today, we have people who are the industry leaders. They are representing industry, and for them, the budget is one of the things that will motivate them to move forward and to pull the economic revival of the state. Now, we have with us the head of the premier business organization in the state, the GCCI, Manoj Kakulo. Welcome, sir. Also with us is the head of the CII, Mr. Atul Jadhav. Welcome, sir. Now, tourism in the state is today the prime industry. So with us is TTAG's Nilesh Shah. Sir, welcome.
Thank you.
A budget is about figures. Of course, it's about schemes, no doubt, but ultimately, in the pure sense of the form, it's about figures. So with us, we have a very extremely senior person in the accounts line, who's also been a former GCCI president and chartered accountant by profession, Mr. Sandeep Bhandare. Welcome, sir. I would like to start with Manoj, who's the president of the GCCI. Manoj, explain to us what this budget is all about in general, before we go into the specifics.
I think on behalf of the industry, without mincing words, I can conclude that this has been a classic case of election year budget. As an industry, although there are small things here and there which have been given to us, overall we feel neglected, we feel left out, and especially during these post-COVID times when there was a lot of stress all across the sectors of the industry, we expected government to come to our help, come to our rescue, based on which we had also made a lot of representations. But unfortunately, I'm very sorry to say that we are left in the lurch to fend for ourselves. In the same breath, I would like to tell that there were some of the representations which we had made which are considered by the government, although it might be, as Kokani Mandal said, but still that has been considered, so we have to acknowledge it. Like for example, we had asked for, in the general manufacturing sector or in the industrial estates, there are a lot of sick units. So we had asked that a task force be formed, a joint between the industry and the government, to help this rejuvenate these sick units, if possible, settle with EDC, settle with IDC, with the dues and all this thing, come at a compromise so that these places can be taken back and new industries can come up there.
Absolutely.
So this task force has been formed in this budget. Next is for the real estate business. There have been some SOPs which have been announced, like reduction in infrastructure tax, which has been our demand for a while. So that has been done. Of course, it is only temporarily for 6 months, but they have acceded to that request. Then there is a relief which is there, although details are not available, on the stamp duty and registration charges, and also relief for cooperative housing societies registration. So this is as far as the real estate or building sector is concerned, which might help for builders to come up with newer projects in the times to come. In the tourism sector, although there are a lot of announcements made, the financial outlay is pretty negligible. There is a big word called interest subvention for hoteliers and tourist operators. And what is this interest subvention? Overall, 5 crores. That has been earmarked, which I feel it is just touching the tip of the iceberg, but it has been made a mention of. Then the airport fees for the charter to be landing fees at the airport, parking fees, we had asked for total waiver. There they have given some relief, and such small things are announced. But overall, I would say that it can be called a little bit of populist budget because of the election year, last budget and all these things, but industry feels neglected. Lastly, and most important, is about one-line announcement in this 2-hour speech for a problem of the state which has been there for last so many years, and it is just swept aside with one-line announcement: formation of the Goa State Mining Corporation. No, I think it is, just Sure Solla. That's it. Fend for yourself. Let's see. Guess whatever it is. So I think, it was not what was expected. If you had to form a corporation, why did you waste all this time? It could have been done earlier. And nobody was opposing. So what I feel is that industry overall across the sectors has been left in the lurch, and we feel definitely left out by this state government budget.
It looks as if there's no clarity. Basically, you mean to say a lot of, and there's no much. Jadabab, what do you feel?
See, the major things what he has announced is basically formation of Goa Maritime Board. Now this is where all 9 maritime states had come together, and they had decided in 2008. All these years we have not got that maritime board. So I'm sure that setting up of Goa Maritime Board will be a good way to boost the maritime activities in Goa. Second, a bold step I would say of Goa Mining Corporation, because so far they had not taken any step. So if at all Goa Mining Corporation step has been taken, I mean, a lot of things are not clear, because there were 800 mining leases, concessions before liberation. In 87, 500 were there, 361 were 2007 renewals they were there, 139 were operating leases, and now 88 mining leases which have been banned. Now, being first I am from that industry. Second is 30% of the income definitely depended on from the mining sector.
Correct.
So how this mining corporation is going to be utilized? If it is going to be utilized for the 88 mining leases, then we are also undermining Supreme Court judgment which is going to take place and which has not been heard by Supreme Court for last 1 year. So what is going to happen? Are they going to form the corporation for other 500 odd mining leases which are already there? It's a welcome move if that is so. If you are going to do it for 88 mining leases, there will be another spate of cases. So that should not be there. Now, what we had asked for the model career center, which we are...
Okay, just on this mining, just before, maybe you can take it up later. That's surface rights, all those things also have to be taken care of later.
Yeah,
you can get into details.
If you want to have mining corporation, then we will require 1-2 hour session for mining issues, because there are so many complications. There are 3 cases which are pending in the Supreme Court. One is the review of the petition which was filed in 18.
No, why I wanted to bring that up, because as Manoj said, it was finished off with one line.
Sentence.
How is my
But
point?
it doesn't stop them. At least they have taken this step. So if they are doing the mining, as I said, if the new mining leases are going to be operated under the mining corporation, it's very
Fine.
good. If you are going to touch the 88 mining leases, it's going to be a Pandora's box.
Okay.
And 87 also, that case of mining leases which
Still
has been abolished.
Still there. Yeah.
So that issue has not been decided by the Supreme Court. You cannot hold totally government responsible. Supreme Court is equally responsible.
Well,
22 years they have not had
time
decided on the constitutional bench whether mining concessions can be carried forward or not. So it's a issue, but all the mining dependents are waiting, and there are certain cases which are still pending in the mining debt relief scheme which has to be extended. Second thing is the people who are taken loans from cooperative bank sector. Almost those banks are not taken care of. So the banks like Goa Urban Cooperative Bank, Mapsa Urban Cooperative.
Can we go into the details a little later?
Yeah.
You move on.
So that will be a different thing. One, regarding the health, they have said a good set up extra budget, like North Goa is having a ESIS hospital, along of course with the government of India. But that is one. Most important thing which I found, which is very attractive, is the importance given to the migrant workers. See, today any industry you talk in Goa is one way or the other depending on the migrant workers, whom industry as well as the government both have neglected. And we have seen that effect in the pandemic, when suddenly everybody disappeared, everybody lost in their business. So if you are able to give assurance to them of a good health. Second thing is, if they are taken care of, because already the second wave is at the doorstep, Goa being a tourism and destination. So this is the one issue which they should hold it boldly. Other things like backwater tourism, I think Shah can take up that, formation of Goa Tourism Board, etc. Those are welcome moves. At least they are taking one step there. And one major announcement, another in the maritime sector, is the formation of the Konkan Maritime Cluster, which is the first of its kind in India, which has attracted even PMO's attention. So that is the provision of 17 crores which they are going to give to this project of Konkan Maritime Cluster, which is going to bring in lot of orders for the current ailing yards, because the yards are having no business because of this. So we would expect that. We were expecting some OTS for this VAT which they had announced. They have collected only 39 crores, and 1800 crores is something what difference of VAT this OTS which was expected. So we have given a suggestions, if they could extend that time like between 3 months from which some people have been excluded. If those people are included into that scheme, maybe the government will be able to raise another 400 to 500 crores.
Maximum.
Should be at least voluntarily, because some of them are totally left out. Like for example, I have not received money of VAT from somebody, that money has not come to me, what do I do? So if that fellow is taking time, he should be given a time to pay. Those cases could be taken up. So I hope that they do something on that. On fisheries, like for example, cage fish farming is something which has failed in Goa, but other states have succeeded. Like Goa story today is the importer of fish. So if we are able to do this, it's a good thing of giving a tasty Goan fish, especially Chanak, what they are saying. So hoping for better this thing. Swayambhurna Goa is something which Chief Minister's agenda, which is trying his best, and we wish him all the best for doing all these things.
Yeah. Thanks, Atul Babu. Nilesh Babu, tourism. It's a crucial sector in Goa, and especially which has taken a very, very bad battering in the past year. For you, how was this?
In fact, every time I'm repeating the same story that we are on survival mode. So we were expecting quite a bit to see that the industry survives, because unless you survive, government cannot get revenue. Let's be very, very clear. So certain initiative we had requested government, out of which one was the charter landing to give relief on that, full relief, but they have given relief of they budgeted 5 crores. Assuming usually we get around 800-900 flights, assuming we will get suppose 500 flights because of this pandemic, each flight will get relief of 1 lakh rupees, so which is a welcome sign. We had also asked for visa waiver, which of course is a central subject, but we had said in some coordination something can be worked out. We are hopeful that government is working on that line, because anything which is stopped to restart, it will take a lot of efforts, and with the competition hotting up with the neighboring state, because let's understand that everybody is on the same boat, so it is going to be really a big challenge. Thirdly, we had requested for the interest subvention, because the other states have already done, like Kerala had done, Jammu Kashmir had done, I think Himachal also had done. So this we are pursuing for almost last 6-7 months. So it is a welcome step. They have started that they will give interest subvention. But the tune of the interest subvention, as Manoj just said, it is 5 crores. So the amount which actually the loans which they can give is around say 60 crores if we take at 8% rate of interest. So it is going to be very mere, but let's see if somewhere some benefit can percolate. And the one thing which I will again like to talk on the digital meter. Now in fact we have been asking government to implement taximeter, and third time we have gone for contempt in the court, in High Court, I think, which hearing will come next week hopefully. And now they are saying that they are going to give free meters to all the taxi operators to tune off their budget, if not mistaken, 32 crores, which is a big amount. This is not the total what we have been asking for. We have not got even part of it. So I hope this government implements that, and they when they consider all these policies of, especially on the taxi front, which is a hot issue everywhere, that it's not only tourists who are using taxis, but even the locals are using it. Let's be very, very clear. If you want to decongest your road, or if you want to have people using what you call transport, less public, more of a public transport, because which we don't have unfortunately. We will require wherein we have a good system wherein economical scales can be achieved with different. Even secondly on the taxi app, which again government should continue and promote more on this, which we didn't see much announcement, but I hope government gives more emphasis on that. Secondly, on the hinterland tourism, they have said that on tribal agro tourism, they have sanctioned 5 crores. Now, in fact, many discussion has happened, and every time I emphasize on that, let's be, if you come with any such scheme, let it be the people driven. Let the people in villages, if they want, then we ask for do all this development in that particular village. Because what is happening is we see the concretization of the villages or the places which are happening. The classic example is of Mayam Lake. Earlier Mayam was in the circuit of tourist circuit. Today it's not there, and today you have in the name of beauty you have put all the concrete around, and that actual beauty of that place is lost. So that is another thing which I hope government will look into it, and it should be people driven and village driven rather than because governments want particular village, I am going to do that project. I think that thing should not be there as far as ecotourism is concerned or rural tourism is concerned, whatever we say. Secondly, it's a good idea that they are going to have the circuit of Mayam Lake, Mayam Harvalem and Bondla Zoo, which is a good thing, which are the dead spots which they are trying to revive in the tourism, which will help that hinterland tourism which we are talking about, which we had in Goa, which has been lost in the as time has gone with the different taken by the government authorities and the way we have been promoting. Secondly, 24/7 liquor license for 5-star hotels, I think they have announced. I think it is of course with the fee, I think that will also go a long way in the having as we are talking about 365 days tourism into Goa, so now it is 24/7 tourism as far, because when we talk of Goa, we require all aspect of tourism should be on. When this is tourism board, we had lot of discussions earlier also. They have allocated 1 crore. I hope all three main bodies have suggested, CII, Goa Chamber of Commerce and TTAG. We had done joint representation on the implementation of the board as per the requirement and as per the we feel which can be workable solution. They have allocated 1 crore, and I hope they listen to our suggestions and they finalize in days to come. Regarding the soft skills, they have said that with the foreign languages they will develop the courses for the tourist guide with one soft skill, which is a good sign. For GTDC, they have allocated 75 crores specifically for the development. I think these projects are in the joint with the India Tourism Government of India initiative, wherein they are coming with convention center at opposite Pariyattan Bhavan, and at Old Goa also they are coming with certain facilities. I think that's for the amount is allocated for that specific purpose. Then on the beach cleaning, they have allotted 48 crores. I think that is which is ongoing process which they are tendering it out. So I don't know the more economics of it, but I think at least that continuation is there, because that is required to keep attracting tourists. And of course that maritime board in the for which will help into getting the tourism sector more organized in that segment, because what we see, there is a lack of safety aspect. And if you go to Miramar, everyone is they just pull you up, bargain your price and take you in those boats. I don't know how far they are safe and what safety measures they are following. Similarly, on the river cruise front also, there are more players there, and because of the competition, again there is a lot of safety norms are being flouted by unauthorized organization. I hope government keeps check on that. The government has not mentioned on this, but lot of illegality in the tourism industry sectors which you have been bringing in forefront. I hope those things are taken care of, because that will help in government in increasing revenue. Because of illegalities, the government is renewing the revenue, which I think government should address it. And rather than, because what is happening is, if you are in good books of XYZ in the village panchayats or other area, it is easier to operate rather than paying your official fees. So I think government should look into it, and there should be full stop to all these illegalities. It is right from illegal bars, illegal restaurants, illegal guest houses, illegal event decks, you name it, you have it on the belt. So I think that's all our revenue generating for government, which government should address. Overall, I think we are asking for quite some time for survival. But I think they have started somewhere, and I hope they continue realizing, because with this small initiative, you can be rest sure that it will help industry in some aspect. So looking into that, I think government should will give more in days to come to the tourism sector, because that is the main industry in Goa today as of now.
Revenue earner.
Revenue
Yeah.
earner. Thank
But
you.
instead of for beach cleaning should have been 5, and for the interest should have been, that probably would have made more sense.
I agree, but anyway, what I'm saying is, what I have found first time, that they have listened. Like if you see, like Manoj just said, it is looks like election budget. They have listened to each of the sectors, whichever representation we have made. At least one or two items they have looked into it, but the allocation are very minimal, and I don't know how it is going to help, but let's see how as time goes, and I hope at least what is allocated is been utilized for those sectors.
We'll talk a little further implement. Bhandari Bab, now figures, talk about allocation. Now you are the figures man, naam ka aata hai, exact figures give us what exactly it means in figures.
Frankly, I'm also a little bit happy that there are these three are representing the industry, and this year I don't have the kind of the burden of representing them, because whenever you are representing an industry, you also have a certain kind of a duty and allegiance to that industry, and as a CA, therefore, I can afford to take a step back.
Okay.
So when I look at the budget, and they say that whenever you are looking at any text, you also look at the context in which that text has been said. So I look always budget in what background it has been presented, and what were the constraints and what were the things which were there before the government. This was the first budget after COVID-19 which has taken place, a full-fledged budget kind of this thing. And you have seen the kind of impact that has been there on the because of the COVID on the government's budget and the revenue as well as the expenditure. Let's take revenue. One of the major contributing was, of course, the mine sector for some time back, which has been now closed. Okay, almost for some time. So it has got, though it had got nothing to do because of the COVID, frankly speaking, that also could not generate much of a revenue, whatever was started. The second portion was the tourism. Nilesh Babu represents the tourism sector. But the question, of course, was that tourism and COVID were so interrelated to each other, because it involved a physical movement of the people down to come down to here. So not only just the plain hotels which you are talking about, but the airline industry, be it the airline industry, be it the event managers, small things, the catering industry, the entire gamut of the industry was, has been totally stopped. Now, when such kind of a revenue stops for the individual players or the industry, naturally the taxes which the government gets also gets reduced. So that's one thing on the revenue side. Look at the expenditure side. Never before the government has set up so much or spent so much money in terms of, we talked about migrant laborers, for putting them in place, arranging for temporary shelters, free food for them. The, vaccines, of course, have now a cost, which have also been almost free to these things. But even the COVID hospitals which were set up, the frontline workers, the health line workers, whatever were there. So you have a revenue which has decreased on one side, you have an expenditure which has increased on one side. The third thing which I am looking at the background is the purpose of the GST. At some point of a time there was no GST, and therefore government had the freedom to raise whatever kind of a taxes which it had in terms of VAT. So now you don't have a control over a major part of the revenue that you are going to get, because that has been decided by the empowered committee. So these are the three constraints which had. On the other hand, we have an election which would be coming, and I think this will be the full-fledged budget, the last full-fledged budget before this thing. Of course, one has to remember, you are sitting in a democracy, and in a democracy, as the Chief Minister himself said, the voice of the people, vox populi, was used to say, is something which counts. So this is the circumstances under which the budget has been presented. Now coming back to the figures, what are those things which we look at it? The first thing which we look at, has there been an increase in the size of the budget? And yes, there has been almost a 12% rise in the size of the budget. Two, what is the kind of the fiscal what is the kind of the budget deficit that is there? Is it too large? Because every time you have a too large a deficit, then the question that comes up across is that how do you service this kind of a deficit in the future stage? So the deficit is 2.96%. I would put it across as well manageable kind of limits. No doubt the absolute deficit has risen, but because of the revenue size increase also, that is also something which we are not really at this point of this thing. It is not something which is too much worry about. And the third thing is the debt again. Absolute size of the debt which you find is again increasing by this thing, but that has remained constant of between almost like 18 to 19% compared to the GSTP size. So that is something which has remained there. And I would, before even we are looking at the budget, there were a couple of things which I am aware of, at least which the government has done, and particularly about the debt portion of it. That we have seen a conscious effort being made by the government to substitute a very high cost debt, by way of a low cost. For example, 12 to 13% was the average interest side which we are having, because our borrowing was consisting by way of a bond borrowing.
Yes.
We have, over a period of time, we have seen that entire bond borrowing almost being replaced by a cheaper of around 2.5% to 3% NABARD loan. Look at the size of the debt and look at the size of this thing. The costly loans of Kadamba Transport Corporation, GSIDC corporations and other such corporations have been already almost paid by the government, and therefore this will decrease the things. Another thing which again, considering concept that is, government has started a new platform. Now what used to happen was that for all the projects, government used to pay the money to them or either borrow high cost money. Now the government has got a situation, this one, whereby the banks are involved, the government is involved, and the contractors are involved on the same platform. So whatever kind of materials or things, services are being supplied by the people to the contractors to the government, government in turn has got an arrangement with the bank where the bank at a certain rate of interest does the bill discounting and pays them the money. It's a win-win situation for all the three parties.
We have run
Yeah.
out of time in this segment.
Yeah,
We will take a short break
yeah,
and come back to you.
sure.